Watch closely. This is Katie Poirier, a 19-year-old working late at a quiet convenience store in a small Minnesota town. It's just past 11 p.m., and everything seems normal as she cleans up, unaware that her life is about to change forever. At 11:33, a man walks in, calm, casual, striking up what appears to be a friendly conversation with Katie. But what was he really saying? A harmless interaction, or something far darker? He leaves, then returns seconds later, this time with intent. The man returns, gripping Katie by the neck with a cord pulling tight around her throat.
These things happen on TV. These don't happen for real.
There's no mistaking it. This is a deliberate abduction. The grainy video captures this chilling moment, but identifying the offender proves a daunting challenge.
If we can get good images out of this, we might save her life.
When they say your heart breaks, it literally is breaking you.
On May 26, 1999, in Moose Lake, Minnesota, 19-year-old college student Katie Poirier was working the graveyard shift alone at a gas station convenience store on the outskirts of town. Shortly before the end of the shift, her friend Kathy Hannock, who worked at a nearby sandwich shop, stopped by briefly. The two often spent time talking during late hours, and that night was no different, though Kathy stayed only a few minutes before leaving. Not long after, Moose Lake Police Chief Dale Heaton, a veteran officer on night patrol, checked in at the store. Knowing Katie was working alone and the station sat nearly a mile from town and other businesses, he wanted to make sure everything was fine. Katie appeared relaxed and upbeat, passing the quiet hours with coffee and schoolwork. She seemed like her usual cheerful self when the chief left to continue his patrol. Around midnight, a customer entered the store to pay for gas. Inside, she immediately noticed that something was wrong. Inside the store, there was no clerk on duty. Near the cash register, a pile of money and handwritten notes from other customers explained that, finding no attendant, they had left cash to pay for their gas. Instead of doing the same, the customer grew alarmed and called 911. At approximately 12:20 a.m., Moose Lake Police Chief Dale Heaton was notified that the convenience store near the freeway was open.
Lights were on, customers were in the store, but there did not appear to be an attendant on duty.
When he arrived, he questioned the caller and examined the notes and money on the counter. The amount of cash suggested that Katie had been gone for some time. Chief Heaton searched the interior of the store, believing she might have been injured elsewhere on the premises, but Katie was nowhere to be found. What he did find raised immediate concern. Her purse and car keys were still behind the counter. Given the store's location, more than a mile from town, it was unlikely she had left on foot. Outside, Katie's car was still parked in the lot, with no sign of her inside the vehicle. It became clear that something was seriously wrong.
She would have never done that. She would have never left on her own without calling her supervisor or something and locking the place up at least.
Convinced this behavior was completely out of character for her, Chief Heaton expanded the search to a nearby truck stop, considering the possibility that she had been taken into a truck. He checked multiple vehicles, including the backs of parked trucks, but found no trace of Katie. With her car untouched and her personal belongings left behind, the question became unavoidable. Where had Katie Poirier gone? 19-year-old Katie Poirier was an independent young woman. Though to her family, she was still very much the baby. Bubbly and energetic, she was always on the move, deeply connected to her family, her dogs, and a variety of sports.
She would come home, do, laundry, borrow money, steal the food, typical college kid type thing.
After graduating high school in 1998, Katie enrolled into a criminal justice program at a nearby community college. She dreamed of a career in law enforcement, hoping to become either a police officer or a conservation officer in Montana. She was engaged to her longtime partner, Mark Wilson, and to her family, it was clear she was growing up fast. On the day Katie disappeared, she spoke briefly with her brother Patrick in a routine, lighthearted phone call before heading to work. It was an ordinary exchange, offering no sign that it would be the last time he would hear her voice. With no sign of Katie at the gas station, an officer was sent to her apartment, where her fiancé, Mark Wilson, answered the door. Investigators questioned him about when he last saw Katie and when she left for work, but he had no idea where she was. The news that she was missing left him visibly shaken. As the hours passed, Chief Dale Heaton expanded the search.
All units be advised to be on the lookout for Katie Poirier, 19 years old, last seen at the mini-mart on I-35.
Knowing how critical the early hours were in missing persons cases, officers searched Moose Lake and the surrounding areas, including a nearby state park, but found no trace of her. With time slipping away and no physical evidence, investigators turned to what could provide answers: the store's surveillance system. 4 cameras covered the interior of the mini-mart, and Chief Heaton contacted the store manager to secure the footage, hoping it would reveal what had happened to Katie Poirier. Investigators began reviewing the surveillance footage just before the last cash register transaction, but immediately ran into a major obstacle. The video was black and white, grainy, and displayed 4 camera angles on a single screen, making details difficult to distinguish. Despite its poor quality, it remained their best chance at understanding what had happened. At 11:11 p.m., the footage showed Katie alone in the store, cleaning. At 11:32 p.m., she stepped out of camera view into the storeroom. Everything appeared routine, until 1 minute later, at 11:33 p.m., a man entered the store and wandered the aisles for several minutes. Katie soon returned into view and appeared to speak with the man.
I think it's possible she could have known the person because they did engage in a conversation.
With no audio on the tape, investigators could not determine the content of their conversation, and there were no visible signs of distress or alarm. The man then exited the store, and Katie went back to what she had been doing before. Just 10 seconds after exiting, the man came back. He briefly stepped outside again, then re-entered the store and moved toward the area where Katie was working. Seconds later, both disappeared from the camera's view, leaving investigators watching an empty store with no indication of what had just happened. At 11:38 p.m., the man reappeared. He was holding Katie by the neck and forcing her toward the exit.
He is behind her, and he's got something around her neck.
It was a cord, pulled tight to control her movements and overpower her, making it unmistakably clear this was an abduction. The surveillance camera captured the attack, but what happened after they left the store remained unknown.
These things happen on TV. These don't happen for real. And, but it just was so hard to believe.
Although the footage confirmed Katie had been forcibly taken, its grainy quality prevented investigators from identifying the suspect. All they could determine was that he was a white male of average build, likely in his mid-20s to early 30s, and significantly taller than the 5'2" Katie. There were no exterior security cameras to capture a getaway vehicle, and with the store located near a major highway, investigators knew the offender could have fled the area at high speed. As standard procedure, police first considered Katie's fiancé, Mark Wilson, but he did not match the suspect's description. Once ruled out, investigators were left without a suspect. Unaware that anything was wrong, Katie's family learned of her disappearance in the early morning hours.
My mom came into my bedroom screaming that somebody had taken her.
The realization that Katie had been taken was crushing, leaving her family stunned and powerless, consumed by the urgent need to find who had done this and bring her home. The next morning, Agent Phil Hodap questioned Katie's coworker, Kathy Hannock, who had been the last known person to see Katie alive. Kathy described the evening as normal until she was closing her sandwich shop around 10 p.m. That's when a man, seemingly intoxicated, came in asking to use the restroom. She directed him to another door since hers was closing.
I could tell he had been drinking, but he didn't scare me, bother me. I'm just like, just go home, you drunk.
As Kathy left, she noticed the man's black pickup truck parked on the corner. They left at the same time, with the man turning off before her.
The man I saw that night was wearing a plain colored shirt and jeans. Gray in hair. I would say he'd be in his late 40s, early 50s.
However, his description didn't match the younger man caught on the surveillance footage, who wore a two-tone sweatshirt. Still, Kathy's information about the truck was crucial. She remembered part of the license plate, digits 557 and either a K or Y. Police ran a statewide search on trucks matching the partial plate, generating a long list of potential leads. Tracking down every vehicle owner from this list would take time that might be running out for Katie. In cases like this, investigators know the victim's chances of survival diminish quickly. The search for Katie Poirier quickly turned into a full-scale rescue mission.
We're gonna be as thorough as possible through this area. We're gonna get it done.
Teams of law enforcement and volunteers thoroughly searched the surrounding area for clues.
For nearly 2 days now, searchers have been combing the woods and the ditches. Water patrols have taken to the lakes. And 2 Cobra helicopters canvassing the area from just above the treetops.
Katie was well liked and respected in the community, making her disappearance all the more shocking. Her mother expressed deep gratitude to those involved in the search.
And the word thank you just doesn't seem enough to give to you. But we do thank you for all your effort, and Katie does too.
Not knowing what happened to a loved one is something most people can't imagine, and the uncertainty was agonizing for her family.
Our prayers are with you, Katie. Remember, please stay strong. And remember, we love you and we miss you.
Investigators followed up on leads involving black pickup trucks across the state. In one case, detectives visited a home in Richfield, a Minneapolis suburb, to question the owner, Donald Blom. His wife cooperated, explaining that they no longer owned the truck. It was white, not black, and had been sold months earlier. This was just one of many leads that ultimately went nowhere, frustrating the search for answers. Recognizing that missing person cases like Katie's were often committed by sexual predators, many of whom were repeat offenders, investigators quickly compiled a long list of people with relevant criminal histories living in or near Moose Lake. The town housed the state hospital where many such offenders received treatment after serving their sentences, resulting in a high concentration of potential suspects in the area. Soon, a tip came in from the public about one individual, Donald Dean Christensen, a known individual with prior SA convictions who was not in custody when Katie was abducted.
He looks really good to us as a potential suspect.
Donald Dean Christensen denied any involvement in Katie's disappearance, claiming he had been home with his wife that night. However, witnesses contradicted his alibi, raising suspicion. Police obtained a search warrant for his home and found a knotted cord in his trash, similar to what was seen restraining Katie on the surveillance video. Despite the evidence, Christensen maintained his innocence and agreed to cooperate. Investigators reenacted the crime with him, comparing his height, build, and movements to the suspect in the video. He closely matched the description. About 5'10", similar age.
His hair looks exactly like the suspects in the video. His size matches the suspect in the video.
The key detail that could seal the case was a distinctive spiderweb tattoo on Christensen's forearm. If matched to the suspect in the footage, he would likely face abduction charges and more. Investigators examined the grainy video closely, searching for a spiderweb tattoo on the attacker's forearm, but the footage was too unclear to confirm anything. Unable to arrest or clear Christensen, police hoped to improve the image quality. An FBI agent brought the video to NASA astronomer David Hathaway, an expert in image enhancement with many years of experience improving images transmitted from space. Using specialized software called Visar, Hathaway aimed to sharpen the footage by layering multiple frames together. The challenge: the surveillance camera recorded only 1 frame per second, unlike the usual 30, so he needed a section where the suspect stayed still long enough to capture multiple frames.
I had an FBI agent literally breathing down my neck saying, if we can get good images out of this, we might save her life.
Under pressure, Hathaway found 6 seconds of suitable footage and combined the frames. As the image gradually sharpened, it became clear the man had no tattoos on his forearms, clearing Christensen from suspicion. Though disappointing, the enhanced video offered a new chance to identify the real perpetrator. The enhanced video revealed something unexpected.
You convinced us that the suspect was actually an older male.
Meaning investigators had spent 2 critical days searching for the wrong age group. By reducing some of the grain, Dr. Hathaway was able to clarify additional details. The man appeared to have short blonde or gray hair, stood about 5 feet 10 inches tall with an average build, and was wearing a dark New York Yankees throwback jersey with the number 23 on the back. Even with these improvements, the suspect's face remained too unclear to identify. Using the enhanced images, investigators worked with a police sketch artist to release a rough drawing and a detailed physical description, including his clothing. To amplify the appeal, local baseball legend Paul Molitor publicly urged anyone with information to come forward.
The individual has blondish hair, which may be shoulder or collar length. If you have any information regarding this individual or Kathleen Poirier, please contact the Carleton County Sheriff's Department.
Within hours, the combination of the sketch, description, and high-profile appeal triggered an overwhelming response, flooding the police hotline with hundreds of tips. Investigators followed every tip that came in, but one by one, the leads went nowhere. Doubt began to creep in. Maybe they wouldn't catch the criminal. Meanwhile, Katie's family endured unbearable pain.
When they say your heart breaks, it literally is breaking. You can feel this emptiness, this pain that goes on.
3 weeks after Katie went missing, investigators received their 1,960th tip. The caller, who worked at the Minnesota Veterans Home in Minneapolis, reported suspicions about a janitor named Donald Hutchinson who had recently quit. The caller noted that Hutchinson had changed his appearance around the time Katie Poirier disappeared, cutting his hair and shaving facial hair.
And Donald Hutchinson owned one of those throwback number 23 New York Yankee jerseys.
The tip immediately raised alarms. Hutchinson matched the suspect's description and owned the same distinctive jersey seen in the surveillance video. Further investigation revealed he had prior SA convictions and several aliases. One of those names stood out instantly to investigators: Donald Blom. After enhancing the surveillance footage, investigators identified a new prime suspect, Donald Blom, a convicted SA offender. Early in the investigation, his wife had told police their white pickup truck was sold months before, which initially ruled him out. Donald Blom was 50 years old, married, and a father of 4. A background check revealed a long history of violent crimes, including SA and abductions dating back to the 1970s. His most recent conviction, in 1983, involved forcibly taking 2 young women into the woods at knife point. Officers entered his primary residence in Richfield, but found neither Katie nor Blom there. Still, they located a black pickup truck in the garage.
And the license plate that matches the description that Kathy Honeck gave me on the very first day.
When investigators learned Blom also owned a vacation property near Moose Lake, their focus shifted there. Believing Katie might still be alive, police quickly secured the trailer, prepared for a possible confrontation. Despite an exhaustive search, there was no sign of either Katie or Blom. Investigators then focused on a large fire pit beside the trailer. As technicians sifted through the ashes, they recovered small bone fragments and a human tooth. Forensic specialists were brought in to analyze the remains. Examination of pelvic and skull fragments indicated the victim was a young woman.
The age of the individual represented in the fire pit was between the ages of 17 and 24 years of age.
That was consistent with Katie's age. The most critical find was a tooth fragment. Forensic odontologist Dr. Ann Norlander confirmed it was human and matched it to Katie Poirier's dental records. The tooth contained remnants of a filling with zirconium and silicone in concentrations, rarely, if ever, seen in dental cement. When investigators contacted Katie's dentist, they learned that just 2 weeks before her disappearance, Katie had received a new filling in that exact tooth using an experimental dental material. Chemists later confirmed the unique elements in the filling matched those found in the tooth recovered from Blom's fire pit. The forensic evidence left no doubt. It belonged to Katie Poirier. After a statewide manhunt, Donald Blom was found and arrested in northern Minnesota. Witnesses, including Kathy Hannick, were asked to identify him. Kathy recognized him immediately, recalling how he had watched her as she closed the store, waited for her to leave, then returned later to ensure the store was empty before taking Katie. Blom admitted he entered the store, took Katie outside, forced her into his truck, and choked her to death from behind.
Choked her. Okay, can you explain how you choked her?
No, just my hands.
Just your hands. And what was she doing while you were choking her?
That time I was kicking, I think, or something.
He described the killing without emotion or hesitation, offering no detail, no struggle, only the blunt certainty of what he had done, as if recounting something routine rather than a life he had just taken.
After that happens, what do?
Only threw her body in the fire pit. I started firing.
Prosecutors confirmed Blom was near the store that day. His credit card receipts showed a liquor purchase around 5 p.m., and sandwich shop employees saw him lurking in the parking lot at 8 p.m., hours before the abduction. It's likely Blom had been watching Katie and returned around 11:30 p.m. to carry out the crime. He offered no explanation or motive for his actions.
There was a coolness in his voice. This is a bad man.
When the news was delivered to her family, the weight of Blom's confession shattered them.
He looked at my mom and dad first and said, Donald Blom has confessed to murdering your daughter, then looked at me, your sister.
On August 16, 2000, Donald Blom was sentenced to life in prison without parole for the murder of Katie Poirier. Katie's tragic death led Minnesota lawmakers to pass Katie's Law, which introduced stiffer penalties for violent offenders and mandated improved tracking systems to help police monitor past offenders more effectively. Additionally, the Conoco convenience store chain where Katie worked now requires at least 2 employees on duty per shift to enhance worker safety. The key evidence linking Donald Blom to the crime was the surveillance video.
There was nothing to connect Katie to Donald Blom other than that video.
Science played a crucial role in bringing him to justice, specifically forensic evidence centered on a single tooth that had been recently treated by Katie's dentist. This key piece of evidence was instrumental in removing a dangerous threat from the streets and ensuring accountability.